Chapter 10, Part D, Writing. Add details to your writing. Here, let's do some editing. Editing of relative clauses. Study these errors and pay attention to the areas that you make mistakes in and try to edit them out. Here's one, and that's on subject-verb agreement. He's the writer whose books is on the bestseller lists. So please remember books is the plural noun form, so we need a plural verb, are, so that the subject and verb agree. He's the writer whose books are on the bestseller lists. Number 2, pay attention to the use of commas. This is the friend that I told you about. That one is a restrictive clause. Therefore, you must remove that errant comma. The book at the college bookstore, which is on Bank Street, this one requires a comma because we have named or defined or indicated which bookstore it is, and that's the one at the college. The book is at the bookstore, comma, which is on Bank Street. A non-restrictive clause requires at least one comma. Number 3, use of subject or object. The author who she wrote the novel is having a book signing. The word who is the subject pronoun, so we don't need another subject pronoun, she. We have to get rid of the word she and just keep the relative pronoun who. The author who wrote the novel is having a book signing. The book that you recommended it is out of print. The book that is the object of recommended, and we cannot omit take 2. Number 3, second sentence. The book that you recommended it is out of print. Omit the word it because we already have the relative pronoun that. The book that you recommended is out of print. Number 4, use of prepositions. The invention which Edison is most famous is the phonograph. So we can't say Edison is most famous. We must say he is most famous for something. He is most famous for the phonograph. He's most famous for that particular invention. So put the word for in. The invention which Edison is the most famous for is the phonograph. It's also possible to say or to write the invention for which Edison is most famous is the phonograph. So either at the beginning before the object relative pronoun which, or at the end of the relative clause. Number 5, use of adjective phrases. My father, eating eggs, doesn't eat meat or fish. So if you're talking about a general habit, doesn't eat meat or fish, then don't use an adjective phrase because otherwise it sounds like he's eating eggs at this moment. That one probably is also about a habit. So use who plus the present tense verb. My father, who eats eggs, doesn't eat meat or fish. Number 6, use of relative pronouns. I met an inventor is very famous. This one is missing a subject for the verb is. So we have to insert the relative pronoun who. I met an inventor who is very famous. My friend climbed Mount Fuji, that is in Japan. Mount Fuji is a specific mountain, and therefore the relative clause is non-restrictive. Non-restrictive relative clauses that describe a thing must use which and not that. So now we should have, my friend climbed Mount Fuji, which is in Japan. Check your writing for errors of these types and edit them out. D1 is an editing exercise. They're pretty simple. There's only one error, and you need to find it and omit it. For example, number 1, there are several people in my class who's planning to major in English. People is plural, so are needs to agree with that subject. There are several people in my class who are planning to major in English. You could also eliminate who plus the be verb and come up with this. There are several people in my class planning to major in English. Now you try the rest of the sentences and then check your answers with the answer key. In Beyond the Sentence, we're looking at how to define nouns and how to add information. What do writers do? Writers use relative clauses to avoid repetition and make information flow smoothly. Relative clauses provide a concise way of defining nouns and adding information without starting anew. Here's the first paragraph. There are many ways to define a good leader. A good leader doesn't have to be famous. A leader can simply be someone that people admire and whose guidance they respect. My best friend, who I've known for years, is a quiet and determined activist. In the community where he lives, he has earned a reputation for being fair-minded and level-headed on a variety of issues such as traffic congestion and property taxes. This is why many people seek his advice, and he is considered a leader. Notice that a relative clause is often used early in a paragraph to introduce and define a new noun. A relative clause is also commonly used after a specific noun to define the noun or remind the reader of the identity of the noun. Let's look at the second paragraph. Some local leaders do become famous, though. Muhammad Yunus, the economist who won the Nobel Peace Prize in 2006, became renowned for his work in the area of microfinance, which is the practice of lending small amounts of money to poor people so they can start businesses. Yunus felt that these small loans were the key to helping millions overcome poverty. Today, the Grameen Bank, which he founded in 1976, makes loans to almost 7 million people and provides services to more than 70,000 villages in Bangladesh. Notice that non-restrictive relative clauses, or those reduced to adjective phrases, are a concise way to add information about the person the economist called Muhammad Yunus and about his practice called microfinance and his bank called the Grameen Bank. All of these are definite nouns, so the relative clauses and adjective phrases are non-restrictive and require commas. Exercise D2, introducing paragraphs. Complete the sentences with relative clauses or adjective phrases. A true friend is someone. In this case, you'll need to use a subject and a verb like this. Someone who will help you with any kind of problem. Notice that this one is not a good thing to use a gerund. You wouldn't want to say a true friend is someone helping you, because helping you means they're helping you at this moment. but you're going to need help at another time. Maybe you needed help in the past. So remember not to use an adjective phrase if it changes the meaning. Instead, use the adjective clause, who will help you. What about the United Nations? If you'd like to use a relative clause, you'd probably want to say the United Nations is an organization that does something. For example, that works to reduce global conflicts. The Louvre. You know the Louvre? The famous Louvre in Paris? Yes, in fact, we could say the Louvre, which is located in Paris, is the best museum I know. Because this Louvre is a specific museum with a name, we need to make commas after that, which is located in Paris, and another comma. It's a non-restrictive relative clause. What about living in a foreign country? It's an experience that, you can complete that yourself. Nature preservation areas are places where, and you can complete that by yourself. Or you might find a way to use adjective phrases. Then you can choose a sentence from part A and use it to introduce a short paragraph. And you should try to use at least one more relative clause in the paragraph that you write. For example, a true friend is someone who will help you with any kind of problem, regardless of the circumstances. My best friend, Yogo, who I've known all my whole life, is that kind of friend. And then continue to describe your friendship. Exercise D3, write. I know you're waiting for your writing assignment. Add details to your writing. Good writers provide specific details. These details allow the reader to create a mental picture. Relative clauses help writers express complex details more precisely. You can choose one of these topics or one of your own. Write a short essay, a paragraph, say, of about 150 to 175 words. Be sure to provide specific details to describe the people and things you're talking about. And then use the writing checklist to check your work. For example, you might talk about a strong reader and describe what qualities strong readers have or whether they're successful. You can also talk about beauty and whether beauty is visual or other types of beauty, and how do we decide what's beautiful. Whatever you choose to write about, make sure that you check your writing and make sure you have one subject and object relative clause to introduce, define, or identify nouns. Whatever you do, take two. Whatever you do, take three. Whatever topic you write about, be sure to use a writing checklist to reflect on your ability to use relative clauses and adjective phrases, such as, did you use subject and object relative clauses to introduce, define, or identify nouns? Did you use non-restrictive relative clauses to add background information? Did you use relative clauses with other relative pronouns like whose, when, and where? Did you use any adjective phrases? Did you check your sentences for correct form? Hopefully you'll be able to say yes to all of those. And so check your writing before you post it, observe the due date, and read and respond to at least 2 classmates who don't yet have responses. Now, suppose you want to go beyond your exciting writing assignments and you want to think about other things to write about. You may think about writing an essay about something that happened first, a first moment of some sort. And you could choose something about tourism. Perhaps you know of a tourist attraction that you visited and explain why you think it's a must-see place. All right, these are some other ideas for your writing topic. Bye-bye.